Alrighty. Let's move the chair into the right spot. There we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Let me go ahead and get my YouTube app open, and everybody let me know if you can hear me fine. I've been having a lot of technical difficulties before we started today, so I'm hoping that everything is working the way it should. Come on, my channel, live stream, and let's silence that. Alright, so who do we got here? We have Spirit is here. Hello, Spirit. Scottish Lines, hello. Hello, Fallon. Hello, Mary. Let's see. Hello, Lightning McQueen. Hello, Brian. Brian says, I know you usually have afternoon tea on Sunday afternoon, but it is a shame that you didn't delay it and have it tomorrow with Halloween decorations up, if you have any. The reason why I don't is because I never know what I'm going to be doing on Halloween. It's usually always a toss-up, so I didn't want to schedule a live stream if I wasn't going to be here. The other thing, too, is I don't put up Halloween decorations. So, yeah, it wouldn't have... Yeah. Holidays are usually... I'm doing something on holidays, so I usually can't do a live stream on holidays. Let's see. Hello, Ozzy. Hello, Tyler. KSG, how's it going? Or Nick, I should say. Let's see. Daniel. Pacific. Mark. Let's go ahead and turn on the kettle. Start heating up some water. Monk, how's it going? Oh, geez. Something just like an ad just came up and it totally screwed up my... Here we go. Mark says, ooh, pancakes today or crumpets? They are crumpets. I probably will never have pancakes with tea time. I try not to have anything but British pastries with tea time. That's also the reason why I don't usually have, like, specifically, like, other ethnic teas. Like, I thought about doing, like a chai tea with tea time, but it wouldn't have been served on a Cunard liner, so I decided not to do it. So I try to only have, like, British teas and foods that would have probably been served on the Queen Mary. So, you know, everyone says they can hear me fine. That's good. Hey, Doc, how's it going? Oh my gosh, your kid and you dressed up as the Lorax and a truffula tree. It's pretty funny. Hey, Ken, how's it going? Yeah, I'm doing well. Lewis says, good evening from the UK. Good evening. Hello, Modcat. Hello, Joe. Joe says, do you plan on staying in the hotel portion of the Queen Mary when it opens? I may not be able to get there when it opens, but after it opens sometime, I hope to someday, one day, stay in the hotel, you know, of the Queen Mary. Like I've been saying, like, on my channel, that the goal is I need to film the ship from top to bottom, stem to stern. I need to film as many things as I can to document the ship so I can make more videos for you guys. The only way that's possible is if I stay a few nights aboard the ship, because it will take a long time to film everything. So, that's the goal here. See if that works. Alright, so today is, yes, I have crumpets here, and we're also going to be having Earl Grey tea with this tea time. So, who was asking me? Oh, the chat had paused. Monk, I'm doing great. Oh, happy birthday, Lightning McQueen. Hey, Alex, counting down the days of me getting out of the Navy shouldn't be too much longer. Well, I hope you have a celebration or something in mind after you're done. Mark, thank you so much. Yeah, I was going to make another loaf of pumpkin bread, but I didn't have time last night, and I didn't have time today, so I just didn't do it. So I thought, what am I gonna make? Because I don't have any more Scottish shortbread. I don't have any more anything else. I'm like, I'll make some crumpets because I haven't had breakfast either today. So Ryan says, besides Lusitania class, what was your favorite pre-World War I ocean liner from Cunard? From Cunard, I mean, it would be Mauretania, of course, but I mean, I guess it would be Campania then, pre-World War I. I really like the way Campania looks. Wyatt says, you know what I saw the other day that was crazy? An early concept of Queen Mary had the fantail stern. Yeah, if you watch my video about, what was it? It's called Queen Mary, A Whole Lot to Know. And that video, I actually show everybody a concept of the Queen Mary where she had, it's not, technically, that's not called a fantail stern. That is technically called oh geez, now I can't. A clipper stern. A fantail stern is like what Normandy had, but a clipper stern is like what Titanic had and what Aquitania had. And Queen Mary was originally conceived to have a clipper stern, but she was given a cruiser stern, and that video explains why. So that video goes into detail about why it is the way it is. So I think you'll like that video. Be sure to look for it on the channel. It's called Queen Mary, A Whole Lot to Know. Okay, so time to preheat some of this stuff. I have hot tap water already sitting in the teacup and the teapot. That's to kind of bring up the temperature from cold to lukewarm at least. And then from here, I pour out half of the lukewarm water. And then I will pour in boiling water to top it off. And the reason I do this is because this is authentic bone china from the Queen Mary and the Queen Elizabeth. And bone china, it will crack with thermal shock. So you have to pre-warm these things or they will crack. And I've been looking on eBay and stuff, you know, to see if there's any more of this stuff I can add to my collection. I just recently bought another one of these cake plates, so that's gonna be arriving soon. But yeah, what was I saying? But yeah, so these will crack with thermal shock, so you do have to pre-warm it, like slowly bring up the temperature, and then you can, you know, when you're ready to brew tea, you just add the boiling water and, you know, you go from there. Nick, thank you so much. Hey, Alex, you mentioned you want to do a Queen Mary 2 transatlantic cruise once. Use this money to save up for it. Oh, thank you so much. I have, for people who want to donate to my transatlantic crossing aboard the Queen Mary 2 to get to the UK and film locations for future videos and things like that, I have a link down below. It's in the description of every single one of my videos, and it's for my GoFundMe page for that specific project. When you go to that page, you can learn more about the project and what I plan to do, and you can donate there. Because what I have to do, Nick, is I won't receive this money you sent me till till next month, and then I have to remember to put it into my GoFundMe page. So it's easier for people who want to donate specifically to that project and not to anything else. They can go straight to that GoFundMe page and put the money in there, and that's a lot faster. Let's see, but yeah, that'll be a really fun trip when I eventually do it, because there's going to be so much stuff I want to film and bring to you guys. It's going to be all kinds of things. It's going to be vlogs, it's going to be food reviews, it's going to be history live streams, and then history documentaries and stuff that I'm going to film. So, and of course, the trip aboard the Queen Mary 2 will be entirely documented, so you guys can see that. It'll be a really neat thing, but I'm still saving up for it. It's not happening anytime soon, you guys, not unless I have the money on hand. I think so far, yeah, I have, the GoFundMe page has saved $1,000 towards the trip, and I have saved $1,000 of my own personal money towards the trip. So yeah, so I'm a quarter the way towards the goal. A quarter the way towards the goal. So I'm hoping I can go as soon as possible, but I need the money first. You can't book a trip without money. So because a lot of people have been asking me, when are you gonna go? When are you gonna go? Do you have the voyage booked? And I don't have that booked yet because I need the money, but I should move that. I'll wait till the train passes. Let's see. Maritime Review says, going to smoke 1930 pipe with some Walter Relay pipe tobacco. Interesting. Daniel says, did you know RMS Lusitania was also hit by a rogue wave? Indeed, I did. It smashed the superstructure apart. Doc says, hey, Alex, can we have a story about a famous, notable, favorite Queen Mary guest, human or animal? Thank you, Doc, for the donation. A story about a famous, notable, favorite Queen Mary guest. Well, I told you guys about the Duke and Duchess of Windsor when they were there. So I don't know if I should tell you a new story, but do I have a new story about a specific guest aboard the ship? Well, I do know that there is one story that kind of comes up in mind, which is Bob Hope. Bob Hope was, a famous comedian and actor and singer as well. And it was the final voyage of 1939, just as the war was announced. I want to say September 2nd, 1939. They were, I think, about 2 days out from New York when Neville Chamberlain, the British Prime Minister, announced that they were at war with Germany. And everybody on the voyage was quite somber, It's not good news to hear. And it wasn't a surprise either. Everybody kind of knew it was edging towards war. So everybody was in this really sad, somber mood. And the captain of the Queen Mary at the time had approached Bob Hope, who was on board, and he said, can you do something to entertain the passengers and try to take their minds off of this, And so he said, absolutely. And so he went up on stage in the main lounge first, the first class main lounge, and then did a little performance. He sung a song, and off the top of my head, I cannot remember the song, but it was one of his most famous songs, because what ended up happening was he performed for the first class passengers, then he went to second class and performed for them, then he went to third class and performed for them. And it was after that trip on the Queen Mary that he realized he wanted to do something more than just entertain. He wanted to specifically tour around various deployment places for American troops and entertain them. So that became his thing. Whenever there was like a war on, he would go out and meet the troops and then entertain them. He would sing that specific song he originally sang on the Queen Mary. If someone remembers it, you know, they can put it in the chat. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but yeah. So that was kind of an interesting thing that Bob Hope did, and it became something he was known for after that. So kind of cool, and not many people know that idea of him touring and entertaining people came from him doing that on the Queen Mary the day that war was announced with Germany. So let's go ahead and reheat the water. So somebody asked, I don't remember who asked it, but before the stream started, they said, I wonder what Alex does before the stream starts. And that is a very simple answer. I spend anywhere between an hour to an hour and a half setting up for the stream. It's not as simple as like turning on my phone and going, hey everybody. Like, I actually have to like set up the entire apartment for filming for the stream. So one of the first things I do is I will usually plan out what I'm going to eat for the stream. If it's a sandwich, I have to start preparing the sandwich because it does need to be refrigerated prior to showtime. And then so I will start preparing the sandwich. While that's refrigerating, I will start setting up my chair and some of the dishes. Hold on. Trying to make sure I don't mess up on this. Okay. So this can go here. So 5 minutes from now, 4:26. Okay. All right. So I have all the Cunard dishes here, and what I do is I set them up and stuff like that. I have to put cream in the creamer. I have to put sugar in the sugar bowl. And then usually, like, I will move my chair over here. My chair does not adjust up or down, and it's really, really low because this is a kitchen countertop. So I have to prop myself up with a pile of blankets and a pillow. And so I'm actually sitting on a pile of blankets and a pillow just so I can sit at a somewhat normal level with the thing. I did order a brand new chair, which should be arriving any day now, and hopefully that will kind of fix the problem so I can at least not have to pull blankets and pillows out of the laundry room every single time. Then the other thing I do is I start setting up all the equipment. There's a light there, a camera that's you guys looking at me. There's a light next to me right here. There's a blue light way back there that is shining on the wall behind me. Then there is the webcam, which is allowing you guys to see the train running. And then there is a yellow light, which helps provide some contrast. So that light that you guys are seeing on the train layout, there's a yellow and there's a blue. And so to you, it probably just looks like white light with some slight blue light, but it's yellow and blue. And you can see why I bought this camera for me, because the old webcam does not see color very well. The color appears kind of muddled. So I start doing that. I will fill the kettle with water. I will start pre-warming I brushed my hair with my hand, and then I like dropped the hair in my teacup. And then I will have to clean the train layout because the trains will not run when the tracks are dirty. The tracks get dirty by the time I'm done with every live stream because, well, I don't know why. For some reason, the tracks just get dirty after every live stream. So I have to clean the tracks before I can start. So I actually have to go around, wipe all the tracks down, and then I do some pre-tests. I run the train to see if it needs oiling. If it needs oiling, then I oil the locomotive. Once that's done, all the lights are set up. The wires are everywhere. I literally, in order to make sure, because again, the whole apartment is set up with lights and cameras. So I have to make sure, oh, and I plug in a microphone too. So I have to make sure that there's cables to connect everything to. So I have to unroll all the cables and lay those out throughout the apartment. Because again, I'm about 15 feet away from my computer. And that's where everything is being run to, is the computer. So I set up all of that. And then I will finish off like whatever I'm making, the sandwiches or whatever. In this case today it was crumpets. So I had the batter already made and it was sitting for a while. I had to make the batter. While I was making the batter, I was finishing turning on the lights. The lights all have to be adjusted to a specific level. If they're too dark, people can't see me. If they're too light, it looks kind of blown out. So I set up all the lights, adjust the color and the temperature and the hue of the lights. Yeah, and you'll be surprised when everything is done and set up. It's, you know, like 90 minutes have passed by. It is incredible how long it takes to set up for one of these live streams. It's by no means just turning on a camera and then just waving hello at you people. It's a lot. And then there was, before this stream, I had a lot of technical difficulties. So I have a software that runs this live stream and makes sure everything is being viewed by you guys. The software was either not turning on the webcam or it was not turning on the main camera. And it was like I would turn it on and that one would turn on, but the other one wouldn't. So I was going back and forth. I kept having to exit out of the application and just adjust the settings and see if I can get both cameras to turn on. Thankfully, I was able to do that. So, yeah. And then so I have cables strewn about the apartment, which is why at the beginning and end of every stream, I'm pretty much almost tripping over all the cables. So, it's a lot. And then when the stream is done, I have to put everything back away. Because again, I'm pulling all these things out of drawers and stuff. The light that's right here, for instance, that, you know, that gets wrapped up all the time and then put back in a drawer. Because I can't leave all this stuff out. I have a studio apartment, so it's not, you know, I don't want it cluttered. So it takes a lot to set up for this stream. I think a lot of people don't really know that. Let's go ahead and answer some questions here. Thank you, Modcat, for the donation. Nick, thank you so much. I'm going to go on Queen Mary 2 in November next year. I can get you a ticket. If I have the money by then. Yeah. We'll see. Tyler says, have you heard of Empress of Japan? She later became Hanseatic. Well, I've heard of Empress of Japan. I don't know about Hanseatic or anything like that, but I have heard of Empress of Japan. Let's see. Wyatt, about you seeing that concept art of Queen Mary, yes, you did see it on Ocean Liner Designs. He recently put that on his channel. Pierre Caron says, hello Alex, could you please recommend good ocean liner model kits? I have not found any, so I can't recommend any because I haven't found one that I would buy. The only one I can think of is a Titanic model made by Trumpeter. So it's a 1/200th scale, I believe it is. That's a good model, but I've looked at other ocean liner model kits. I do not like them. Let's see. Liner McQueen says, I have motor oil on my hands. Oh, okay. Steven says, on the Queen Mary 2 trip, can you not get a spot as a guest speaker? You can, but as a guest speaker, you don't get like a discounted thing. I looked into it. The only way you can get a discounted rate for being a guest speaker is if they invite you to come onto the ship and guest speak. But when you offer to guest speak, that's just volunteering. So you don't get a reduced rate for that. And besides, I don't really want to guest speak. I'm going to be too busy producing content. So I'm going to be filming the whole ship. I'm going to be doing all these things on the ship. I don't have time to stand in front of a crowd and talk, so it's not my thing. It's not my thing at all. So, like, it probably would be my thing if they gave me a significant discount or something, but they're not going to do that for me volunteering. Oh, the whole chat moved, and now I can't... I know quite a lot about Queen Mary too, Ryan. I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I mean, I know quite a lot about it. Yeah, Pacific, getting a passport's not a big deal. I can get one. Spirit says, can you please stop ignoring my post? I'm not ignoring anybody's post. The chat moves. I can't... You gotta give me some leeway, you guys. The chat moves and I can't find where I last left off. So I don't really know, like, sometimes if people are posting stuff. Okay. So, Spirit, your comment, apparently I did read it. The thing is, you're not asking me a question, so there's no reason for me to read out your comment and then give you a response. I don't really have anything to say to that. That's great that you got that model, but I don't know how to answer that. So, everybody, please just keep in mind, I only read comments if I think that there's something I should respond to, or if I am going to give a response to something that isn't a question, then I'll read the comment out so people aren't confused as to what I'm talking about. But I can't read everybody's comments. There's a lot of comments here. And then what happens is, there's so many comments and I try to get to all of them, and then the comments keep coming and keep coming and keep coming, and then I get like 30 minutes behind sometimes on comments, and people get mad because they think I'm ignoring them then. So give me some leeway. See, I lost my place again in the comments. Oh, and I overbrewed the tea. By a lot. Okay. I'm gonna have to redo that then. What a day. Daniel says, what time does Queen Mary blast her horns? I believe she does it every 2 hours, starting from noon, all the way till 6 p.m. But you might have to ask someone else for that, because I only read the schedule once, so I don't remember it off the top of my head. Doc. My friend has traveled to the UK a few times and also to Europe a few times, so he's going to handle the planning of the trip. He and I are both going to plan it together, but he knows what to do because he's done it so many times. He knows like all the hotels and everything we're going to stay at, so Justin says, when the Queen Mary's old funnels were removed at Long Beach, was any of them saved or cut up as souvenirs? No, they were not. They were completely scrapped. Maritime Review says, I know Halloween is tomorrow, but what is your favorite holiday? My favorite holiday is Christmas. Elvis asks if I could make a video about why the USS Iowa is a fast battleship. I don't do videos on warships. Mysterious Benedict Society was filmed on the Queen Mary. Interesting. Yeah, I know a lot of stuff is filmed there, so it doesn't surprise me. Nick, thanks for the €5. What I meant is I can pay for your ticket on the ship. Oh my gosh. That is crazy, Nick. We'll chat later about this. I don't want to bring this out in front of everybody because if it's not something that will work, then I don't want, But we'll talk about it later. Wyatt Murdoch says, evening, Alex. How are you? I'm doing good. Just waiting for the tea. The picture in question. Oh, interesting, Lightning McQueen. Dennis asked if I know anything about the different T's between each class. Now, as far as I understand about how T works, high tea is usually what you have in the evening, like 6 or 7 p.m. But what you have at 4, like what I usually try to do is just regular afternoon tea. Russell Cooper says, "Hi Alex, was the Queen Elizabeth completely scrapped or were any parts salvaged?" There were parts salvaged. There's I mean, there's parts of the Queen Elizabeth all over the place, you know. So the one that comes to mind is in Torrance, California. There's a property in Torrance that has the bow anchor and 2 of the bow letters, the QE from the bow letters. And then there's also another QE, which is in New York. Those items were salvaged by C.Y. Tung, who owned the Queen Elizabeth when she was being converted into CY's University. So, but yeah. What was I saying? Yeah, so anyway, so yeah, there are parts of this. I couldn't possibly list them all for you because I don't know them all. But yeah, there were parts that were salvaged from Queen Elizabeth. Some of them before she burned up. Some of them afterwards. Derpy asks, "What's my opinion on side door cabooses?" Those are kind of cool. Those are those the ones that are like a combination of a oh, what do you call those? Is it like a combination of a baggage car and a caboose? Because I've seen cabooses that have a sliding door on the side, and I think those are supposed to be like a baggage car combined with a caboose. I think they're cool. Okay. Yeah, if the tea overbrews by like 1 or 2 minutes, I'll still drink it, but I had overbrewed it by a total of 6 minutes, so I was not happy. Okay. Go ahead and dump this out. Okay. Maverick. No, I haven't watched any of those shows. I've heard of them, but I haven't watched them. I thought about watching Peaky Blinders. I know it's a highly recommended show. I just haven't had the time. There's already so many shows on my list. I feel so spread thin all the time because I have all these things on my plate that I have to do, and especially with like shows and books and movies and yeah, I never have time for any of them. Okay, some cream. Kind of a nice day outside. It hasn't rained today, which it's been raining almost every single day, and I love the rain. But today it hasn't rained, so it's still an okay day, but I would prefer the rain. Ken says, "Are the funnel shafts on the Queen Mary still open? How cool would it be to put a skylight on top of one and a viewing from engine room to see how far up it goes. The funnel shafts have all been decked over, so that means that they've installed decks on each level. So, the middle shaft on our deck has become the Windsor room, which is a banquet space. And they did that by, decking over the funnel shaft. So as far as I know, there aren't any funnel shafts that still are intact. They've all been decked over. Yeah, and even some of the air shafts, in the engine rooms, they had shafts that went from the top of the ship down into the engine rooms. I think those are decked over as well. Oh, interesting, Dennis. Yeah, I'm not... Maybe it does blow at 9 a.m. I don't know. I don't remember it very well. Hey, Rena, how's it going? Hello, Cunard. Hey, Brocky. It has been a while. I haven't seen you in a long time. Hey, Goofy Rolls. Hello, Mike. Dennis says, sure you've been to the Railroad Museum in Paris. They run a train or two. Yeah, I've been to the one in Paris. Mike says, what caused the fire on the Queen Elizabeth? That is still a highly debated topic as to what caused the fire. Some people believe it was, faulty machinery that, because, they were converting the ship at the time. So some people think it was a worker. But there's also a good number of people, such as myself, who think it was probably anti-imperialist folks who climbed aboard and purposely set fire to the ship to make a statement. So, one thing that is not an accepted answer to that is that it was sunk. That it was not sunk, but that it was burned by C.Y. Tung's people for the sake of insurance. That's not an accepted hypothesis, because C.Y. Tung was in love with that ship. He didn't want anything bad to happen to it, and he was distraught when it was destroyed. So, but yeah, it is a highly debated topic as to how the fire started. Celia says, if you got a little veranda or garden area that you could use. No, I don't, unfortunately. I live on a second floor of an apartment building, so I don't have that. My porch, which is behind me, overlooks the other apartment buildings, so I don't like to be out there, and I also don't want to show people what the apartment complex looks like. Yes, Kevin, I did know that it was in a James Bond movie. Ken says, I got a new ON30 diesel locomotive. Don't really like diesel engines, but it was on sale at the hobby shop and couldn't resist. Also got a Derrick crane car. Oh, interesting. Oh my gosh. Sorry, reading the Maritime Reviews comment. It's, geez. Yeah, I don't know that I would do a business where I would sell actual memorabilia, and here's why. This other teapot I have is cracked because someone who owned it didn't know how to take care of china. They poured boiling water into it without preheating it, and it cracked all over, like shattered, like glass almost. It will no longer hold water, and it's been forever affected by that. So I have a pet peeve, which is people who own historic memorabilia who don't know how to take care of it. And there's a lot of people that do that. I've seen people who have historic memorabilia and they don't realize they're doing it, but they're treating it very badly. And, you know, like people who've had historic things and have them set next to a window so the sunlight can bleach it. You know, yeah, it's quite frankly a pet peeve of mine. So I would never want to sell historic memorabilia to people because I really don't know how they're going to treat their items. And I've been on the lookout for another teapot, one that is not cracked. But every single teapot I find online is cracked because nobody knows how to use china. So, you know, I did my research before I ever started using my china because I was like, you know, there might be some things I need to know about this and how to use it so I don't damage it. And I did the research and I learned about bone china and how it works. And yeah, and so, you know, even this teacup has a crack down the top of it. That's from thermal shock as well. Someone poured boiling water in this without actually knowing that you have to preheat it. So, yeah, so I couldn't sell stuff to people because I would never be able to trust that they'd take care of it. And I've given people gifts before. They've ruined stuff that I've given them. So Pacific CY says, is it possible to fix broken china? Technically, yes. There are experts out there who fix historic broken china. Especially, they work especially for museums a lot. So they do that. There are people that do that. But that is very, very expensive. Even for something as small as this one crack will probably cost me a couple $100 because you're not just paying for them to fix it. You're paying for the expert, you know. So this would cost a couple $100 to do. If it was something like a teapot where there's multiple cracks, I don't even want to imagine how much that'll cost. So, yeah, there are people who can do it, but it's really not worth it. And to be totally honest, what the expert would probably say afterwards is, you know, it's probably best not to use it even though I've fixed it. Because, you know, it is a fix, it's not permanent. Like, oh, it is permanent, but it's not, it's a fix, but once the original item is compromised in that way, it may be very difficult to use it again for its original purpose. So, that's kind of the problem with it. Let's see. Why? Well, the business didn't go fully under. My business partner, after we had difficulty keeping the business, we decided just to kind of part ways. So he continued on with the business in a much smaller capacity in a different location, and I went and moved up here. So the business is still around, but for the sake of the privacy of, you know, my business partner and the folks associated with it, because I will say, I have been very appalled by the behavior I've been finding on YouTube. A lot of people have been threatening me, and with both violence and with lawsuits for various ridiculous things. Is because of that reason I'm not comfortable giving out the name of that business, because I'm afraid those same crazy people will go after former people I knew, because the business is still around. So, yeah, unfortunately I can't tell you that. Ryan asked, do you know how the Queen Mary's funnels were removed? Yes, so they were built in sections, so they're like rings that all sit on top of each other. All they did was they cut the funnel stays, and then they removed the rivets that hold the joints of the funnels together, and then they lifted off all the rings one by one. That's how the funnels were removed. Maritime review. Yeah, see, people treating suits improperly. You know, I ruined a tie once. When I was a teenager, I got my first necktie, and I ruined it because I didn't know you couldn't put you couldn't put silk in the washing machine. So, and then the dryer after that. So I totally ruined that tie. Okay. I'm gonna have one of these. I've been dying to have one of these crumpets for a while. Oh yeah, the Queen Mary is definitely the icon of the city of Long Beach, you know. That's partly why Long Beach was not willing to part ways with the ship, because it just means so much to the city. Not just sentimentally, because, I mean, you know, yeah, there are citizens of the city that, you know, feel sentimental about the Queen Mary, but from a business, public relations sort of thing, from that angle, the Queen Mary is very important to the city of Long Beach. That's why they weren't willing to part ways with it. What? Russell Cooper says, what strength of wind would have kept the Queen Mary docked? I don't know what that means. Maritime Review says, if you could own a car from the 1930s, what would it be? Mine would be a Hupmobile from the 1930s. I don't know anything about cars. I couldn't even tell you what cars existed 10 years ago, let alone the 1930s, so I couldn't tell you. Yeah, I remember the Queen Mary Village when it was still operating as well. It was very tacky. Brocky says, when will the Queen Mary reopen? Unfortunately, I don't know. Stetson Remol says, is the Queen Mary really sinking? No, not at all. Her hull is in wonderful condition, despite her age. So, she's in very, very good condition. And right now she's undergoing various repairs and things by the city of Long Beach. My favorite Cunard ship today is the Queen Mary. Sylvia says, I think he means what sort of weather would have been too extreme for the Queen Mary to sail. Well, I don't think there is any weather that would have been too extreme for the Queen Mary to sail, because she has sailed through the most extreme weather that you could put a ship through. So the answer is, I honestly don't know, because they would have sailed the Queen Mary regardless. I mean, the Queen Mary has sailed through hurricane force storms, so there's really nothing, like, you know, there are there are, you know, Gale 11 or Gale 12 storms that, you know, will force cruise ships to turn back or to turn around or go around the thing. But ocean liners, most of them would just sail right through some of the worst storms. And the Queen Mary was one of those ships where she would just sail right through the worst storms. They made every attempt to try to go around the storm if they could, but if they needed to cut through it, they'd have to cut through it. Hey, Pookie Smoochie, good to see you. Dennis. Oh, yeah, I've seen the octagon signs of the silhouette of Queen Mary. Tyler, yeah, I've seen that video. It's a very good video. I commented on it, actually. It's by Big Old Boats, and it was published yesterday, I think it was. Good video, you guys. Yeah, it's... What's it called again? It's called How Ghosts Killed the Queen Mary. And it's been my sentiments exactly. I totally agree with the person who made that video. Little gamer, yeah, I know what you mean. I really hate the over-dramatic emphasis on Queen Mary's ghosts. Stetson says, do you think they will really build a second Titanic replica? No. I mean, they've tried doing one in China at a theme park. But they ran out of money before they can complete it. The theme park is now abandoned. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. These crumpets are really good. Pookie Smoochie, don't worry about it. Oh my gosh. Little gamer, yeah, I've heard a lot of people refer to the Queen Mary as a cruise ship. I've heard people refer to Titanic as a cruise ship. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Dennis, I saw some video footage where there were bobbies and there were also like Queen's Guards. And I was very confused. I thought, did they really like have a contract where they got those people from the UK? Or are they actors? And I was like, they had to be actors, you know. Stetson, yeah, it's still there. It's abandoned. Pookie says, what's your favorite part of Queen Mary 2? How do you feel about the onboard decor? Kind of reminds me of the interior of Buckingham Palace. My favorite part of the Queen Mary 2... it would probably be... Well, it's either the main lobby with the big hallways and the elevator, you know, waiting areas, or it would be the library. I think both of those areas are very, very beautiful. I really love those areas. But then there's also the Golden Lion Pub, which I think looks really cool. How do I feel about the onboard decor? I love it. You know, there's something about that Art Deco look which I really like. And what's really great too is it's a type. It's like a what am I trying to say? It's like neo Art Deco. You know, where they're not trying to like replicate Art Deco in an over dramatic way. They're bringing it back to the modern era is how they designed it. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like the difference between like, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get too deep into architecture because then I might say something stupid. But basically, I just really like it. I really like everything about the ship, the way it's designed. That to me is, you know, if all cruise ships were built to look like that, I'd be like, oh, you know, those are not so bad. I would think that most cruise ships wouldn't look that bad, but unfortunately, most cruise ships have to look tacky because they're, you know, they're supposed to be like fun, exciting getaway resorts on water. So they have to be weird looking. But I do like the way that the Queen Mary 2 looks on the inside. I think it's a beautiful ship when it comes to a modern ocean liner. So yeah, I'm really excited to take a trip aboard the Queen Mary 2. I know one of the things that me and my friend Chris were talking about was for sure every single day we're going to have afternoon tea. For sure. Heck, even when we get to the UK, we might still have afternoon tea just for fun. You know, we'll you know, get reservations and stuff for a place that has afternoon tea. It's nice. There's something cultured about it. There's something where you can just relax and do something traditional, you know? So, yeah, we're really excited for that. And another thing we're going to be doing, and people are going to think we're crazy, but every part of the UK we go to, we're going to have fish and chips. Because, as some of you may or may not know, fish and chips does vary slightly depending on the area of the UK you're in. You know, they might have a different style or something of making it. So, but also just because we'll be in different parts of the UK, so we just want to, you know, fish and chips. It's got to be fish and chips. I love fish and chips a lot, but the problem with having it here in the US is it's not done very well. It's so surprising, too, because, you know, I could make fish and chips at home and make it taste really, really good. But quite often, it's just not done right. It's just fundamental little things. Like, oh, we're going to give you tiny little slivers of fish and a whole lot of breading. You know, or like the fries that they make are just fries. I've never been to a fish and chips place where they've actually put that special vinegar sauce on it like you should do in the UK. I've never had that before. So there's a lot of fundamental things flawed with fish and chips here in the US. Just like when you go to the UK and you try to have a hamburger, you know, and it's not a hamburger. So, yeah, it's just things like that. It's funny, huh? When you think about it, like, how could you mess up a hamburger? And at the same time, how could you mess up fish and chips? But they get messed up all the time, you know? It's just a thing. So, yeah. But I'm excited for the trip. You know, just unbelievably excited. And and Nick was offering to, like, pay for my ocean liner journey. Like, wow. So I'm going to talk to him later and see, like, what's up. I'm like, what am I going to have to do? Sell my soul? No, he's being really nice, though. RMS Cunard says, why was the Queen Mary saved? It was a very specific combination of reasons which all came together to make it happen. You know, on one hand, you have the history of the ship and how beloved the Queen Mary was. When the Queen Mary retired in 1967, she was the world's most famous ocean liner, arguably more famous than Titanic. And, you know, if you were to ask most people back then whether they've heard of Titanic or they heard of the Queen Mary, most people would have answered they heard of Queen Mary. You know, so she was a very famous ship with a very long and storied history, and, you know, people knew that. There was also the fact that Long Beach was looking to become a tourist attraction, and they thought, what a perfect way to honor our, you know, our harbor culture with the world's most famous ocean liner. Then there was the fact that, you know, that Long Beach offered the largest sum of money for the ship. I mean, let's not forget that. They offered the largest sum of money, and that always, you know, gets the what am I trying to say? Anyway, so yeah, there was a lot of combinations of reasons. I highly recommend you read at least the first chapter of the book RMS Queen Mary, Queen of the Queens by William J. Duncan. If you don't have the book, on my channel I've been doing audiobook versions of it, so you can actually watch for free the first 4 chapters of the book. But yeah, so in the first chapter it explains entirely how and why the Queen Mary was saved. So, very good book. The chat moved again. Dennis says, have you seen the 1960 movie called The Last Voyage? No, I have not. Daniel says, have you ever seen an episode that starred the Queen Mary? An episode of what? Like, I've seen, like, there was a show called, like, Unsolved Mysteries, and there was an episode with the Queen Mary. So is that what you mean? Maritime Review says, if Queen Mary 2 was retired from service, do you think Cunard would lend it to the scrapyard, or would someone try to keep it as a museum? You know, I think that Cunard would have no problem selling it to a scrapyard. You know, that's just how ships go, unfortunately. They go to scrapyards. But there's a part of me that really hopes that maybe after Queen Mary 2 is retired, someone will buy it and keep it as a hotel. Maybe not a museum, because the ship hasn't really done anything worthy of, you know, museum, you know, efforts. You know, like, you know, Queen Mary makes for a good museum because, for one thing, I mean, she's almost 100 years old. So there's, like, lots of technologies and things that people could enjoy seeing and learning about from the past. But also because the Queen Mary was in World War II and had all these crazy stories, and, you know, so there's a lot of history there. But Queen Mary 2 doesn't have much history. You know, it is a 20-year-old ship, or 18 actually, but, you know, it's an 18-year-old ship, but, you know, the early 2000s were really not all that different from now. So the ship hasn't really become too much of a time capsule yet. I mean, that could change. Maybe in the year 2044, when the ship is ready to fully retire, maybe, you know, there will be a reason to keep her as a museum. But nevertheless, I do hope that someone is able to save the Queen Mary 2 from the scrapyards and use it as a very large hotel, you know. That would be really cool, you know. So, yeah. Daniel says, hey Alex, if Cunard did decide to build a new ocean liner, what would it be called? Mauretania 2 or another name? I still have my vote cast for, you know, Queen Alexandria. Or Queen Alexandra, I'm sorry. Queen Alexandra. Is it Alexandria or Alexandra? The wife, the queen consort of King Edward VII. I don't remember off the top of my head if she's Alexandria or Alexandra. I want to say Alexandra. But she would probably be the next Cunard queen, to be totally honest. I don't think it'll be Mauretania for quite a while. Goofy Roll says, why do people want to go to sea and then do stuff they could do on land? Yeah, I don't know. I'll ask my friend Chris that. Because my friend Chris likes... He likes cruises. So I'm going to ask him, what's so appealing about a cruise? I don't find cruises appealing. I think what Cunard does is appealing. If I did ever do a cruise, it would probably be with Cunard. Because... with Cunard, it's all about just a relaxing, enjoyable experience. With other cruise ships, it seems to be all about partying and stuff. And it's like, you could do that on land and still have more things to do and see. I suppose with cruises, at least you go to various locations and you have the ability to get off the ship and wander around. But you know what? I think the purpose behind a cruise, I think the reason why people go on cruises is so they could jump from the cruise ship like that guy did the other day. Yeah, I think that's what they do. Oh, that's the movie. Okay, so Dennis, the Last Voyage is the movie with Ile-de-France. Yeah, I know that movie. It didn't come to my head when the name was said, but once you said Ile-de-France, I was like, oh, I know that movie. Russell says, did the Queen Mary hire policemen when she was sailing? No, security on the ship was handled by the Master-at-Arms and his team. So this was, you know, the merchant navy back then. So today, I think today cruise ships, they don't have like a merchant navy. It's more like a bunch of naval officers that are hired within the organization. But back then, ocean liners were run by the merchant navy. So it was almost like a governmental kind of authority structure. But it was done for Cunard, under contracts by Cunard. So, but yeah, so they had someone called the Master-at-Arms, and they were in charge of security aboard the ship. And so for a large ship like Queen Mary, there would have been several... I don't know what the people under the Master-at-Arms were called, but he would have had people working for him. So... James says, hi Alex, how did I get a Mickey avatar? What's the dome by the Queen Mary now? Is it still a wet movie set? No. So the reason why you have a Mickey next to your name, James, is because when you surpass certain milestones for being a member of my channel for a certain amount of time, the icon will change depending on that. So I don't remember how many months a Mickey is on my channel. I was going to change the icons, actually, since my channel doesn't really focus on Disney as much anymore. But yeah, it means you've surpassed a certain milestone. So, I think... So, I know for a fact, when you join the channel for the first time, you have my logo as the icon. But then it changes over time, and then eventually it'll get to the icon of the hat. So, okay, so what's in the dome by the Queen Mary now? Is it still a wet movie set? No, inside the dome next to the Queen Mary is the terminal for Carnival Cruise Line. So it's a Carnival Cruise Line terminal. You go there, you get your tickets, you check in, you know, they get your bags and stuff like that. There's a waiting area, all that sort of stuff. Oh, shuffleboard. I don't know when ships started installing shuffleboard. I don't know. Maritime Review says, where did the Master-at-Arms lock up people that were too rowdy on board? So it depends on like what kind of rowdy, but a lot of times they would use the isolation ward. So if they were peaceful enough, you know, if they just needed to be separated from the passengers, they would be put in the isolation ward on B deck, which is on the stern of the Queen Mary. But if they were a particularly dangerous person, the Master-at-Arms had a cell that was, I think it was on D deck, and it was somewhere along the working alley, and it was really just an empty room with steel walls, you know, and if it was a dangerous person, they could be locked in there. To my knowledge, there were no dangerous people aboard the Queen Mary that needed to be locked in that, but there were stowaways aboard the ship who were put in the isolation ward. So I know stowaways, Master-at-Arms would lock them in the isolation ward. Little gamer, that's a good idea. A Queen Mary funnel. That's a really good idea, actually. I could do that. Daniel says, hey Alex, wasn't the captain on the Queen Mary, didn't they used to be one of the crewmates that was on the Carpathia after Titanic sinking? Yes, there was either a captain or a first officer who was a crew aboard the Carpathia when Titanic sank. It wasn't Sir Edgar Britton, was it? Commodore Edgar Britton? Maybe, but I don't remember which Queen Mary crew member was a crew member on, but there was a Queen Mary crew member who was a crew member on the Carpathia during the time when Titanic sank and the Carpathia came to rescue the survivors. All right. Justin says, would they ever build a sister to the Queen Mary 2? It's not a big deal, as I think she's great as a one-off, though I'd love an Oceanic 4 somehow. As for like a sister ship to the Queen Mary 2, it's possible, because if Cunard really wanted another ocean liner, or even just to replace the Queen Mary 2 in the future, you know, they could easily pull up the blueprints and do what they can to replicate the ship. That would actually save them some money, because they wouldn't have to hire an architect to design a whole new ship from scratch. So I could actually see that being a thing where they just replicate the Queen Mary 2 and then just change some things here and there to make it its own ship. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. They've done it before, you know. The Aquitania was really kind of a copy of the Mauretania, but with some changes to it, especially size difference wise. But yeah, hard to say. Kevin says, did the Master at Arms ever lock up people like Jack Dawson? Well, thankfully there weren't too many 17-year-olds that were trying to woo the first-class daughters. So, yeah. Daniel says, Alex, at my high school, I was looking at original photos of Queen Mary, and literally one of my friends came up and said, that's a very old cruise ship, and I was kind of irritated, but I can't blame him. Yeah, you know, people, you can't blame them for something like that. They don't know, you know, the difference between an ocean liner and a cruise ship. It sounds the same, especially today when so many media outlets talk about the latest cruise ships, they call them ocean liners, and you know, so yeah, it's difficult. And on top of that, people don't really know that ocean liners served a very specific purpose. You know, people can't imagine why people would cross the ocean on a ship when they could travel by airplane. You know, it doesn't occur to them that airplanes didn't always exist, you know. So I try to be nice to people who don't know those things, because, you know, there's a first time for learning everything. Heaven knows people make fun of me all the time for learning things, you know, and not knowing them. Well, to be totally fair, I always tease my friend Chris for not knowing stuff. So I'm not entirely blameless. But yeah, so... Tyler says James Bissett. That is right. Thank you so much. Yes, Bissett. If I remember correctly, Bissett was also... He was captain of the Queen Mary during World War II. Yes. So, yeah, James Bissett was the person who I think was first officer on Carpathia when it was rescuing Titanic survivors. Thank you, Tyler, by the way, because that... Sometimes my memory totally fails me, so it's nice when people actually know that stuff, and then they can answer, so we can all get, you know, some nice satisfactory answers out of these questions. Maverick says, what would you do if you were the CEO of Cunard Line? Just like picking at your brain a little. What would I do if I was the CEO of Cunard Line? Oh, I don't know anything about how to run a ship company. But I think a lot of people would want me to say that for nostalgia reasons, I would order the construction of another ocean liner. But to be totally honest, I don't think... I don't know. I mean, being realistic, is there a reason to have another ocean liner? If there was, wouldn't Cunard build one? But then again, there might be a reason for another ocean liner. Because, you know, Queen Mary 2 is almost always booked up. You know, just completely, you know, stuffed to the gills with passengers. So, doesn't that mean that people want to have another ocean liner? It could be. So, I don't know. There might be a reason to order another ocean liner. There might not be. If I was CEO, maybe I would order another ocean liner, but I don't know. One thing that does kind of bother me, though, is that the ships are no longer registered at a British port like Liverpool. They're registered to like Hamilton, Bermuda. So, yeah, I would, for the sake of heritage, I would want them to be re-registered for Liverpool or Southampton. Yeah. Pookie says, do you think the next Cunard ocean liner would be powered by green energy? I don't think so. And the reason why is because ships require a lot of power. Green energy engines and machines take a lot more resources and money to equal the amount of power that a fossil fuel based system would take. Now, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with burning fossil fuels. But just like anything in this world, it's got to be done in moderation. Just the same way you shouldn't do what I did today and eat so much sugar. You know, sugar inherently is not a bad thing to consume. But you should consume things in moderation. And so the same thing, in my opinion, goes with fossil fuels. You know, there's nothing wrong with burning fossil fuels. Just, you have to be very, very selective of what consumes fossil fuels. I think eventually there will be a way to make railroad locomotives efficiently run on clean energy. There are currently locomotives that run on clean energy, but they're not the most efficient, which is why a lot of railroads have not switched to them yet, although some state regulations are forcing them to do so. But I think certain machines that are really, really big, like cruise ships, ocean liners, and some locomotives, you know, they're so big and require so much power that those might need to consume fossil fuels forever, possibly. They could always be improved to reduce the consumption. But things like cars, buses, motorcycles, those kinds of things, those could be switched to clean energy, you know, just like electricity, without a problem. You know, no one needs to have a Ferrari, so, you know. But ocean liners, I think, are one of those things that will probably, at least for the foreseeable future, have to remain a fossil fuel burning thing. So, Daniel says, hey Alex, did any ocean liners have jails? Like, let's say a criminal is captured on a ship. I don't know, because I don't know that much about ocean liners. What I can tell you from what I've seen and what I've understood so far with my limited understanding is that if there was a really dangerous person on the ship, there was usually some type of room that could be used as a makeshift brig. For instance, the Olympic-class ships had a padded cell. Each of them had one, and it was in the hospital ward. So imagine if there was a really dangerous person, they could be locked in the padded cell. Queen Mary didn't have a padded cell. She had either the isolation wards, or there was a special brig room that the Master-at-Arms had. It was just one room, though. So if they had multiple people they needed to keep, you know, they'd probably have to lock them in a stateroom. A stateroom cabin with an officer posted, you know, at the door or something like that. But yeah, as far as I've learned so far, I have never heard of a jail being aboard an ocean liner. There are empty rooms that they've used as brigs, but even then, I don't think ocean liners had a dedicated brig. So, yeah, that's kind of what I know so far. RMS Cunard says, what port was Queen Mary registered at? The original RMS Queen Mary was registered to Liverpool, and even to this day, on her stern, she still has her Liverpool lettering. It's one of those little details I like about the Queen Mary on the stern, is saying, Queen Mary, Liverpool. Russell, about the Mauretania and Lusitania, they had a lot of differences. It was all stylistic differences. Some of the major differences were that Lusitania had very short, flat intake vents, while Mauretania had the usual cowl vents with the big open ports on top. So that was one of the major differences that you could just immediately see. There was also a difference in paint, I believe. I believe that Mauretania had a white line that went further up towards the bow of the ship, whereas Lusitania was almost black throughout the entire bow of the ship. The interior designs were different to the various first-class rooms. Just little things like that, yeah. Oh yeah, I've heard of hydrogen power. Yeah, I figure it has something to do with finances for the reason why they're no longer registered in the UK. And Queen Mary is gonna open soon is a correct word, yeah. As to when, I couldn't tell you. It's probably going to be at the end of November is when Queen Mary will reopen, but that's a big probably because there's no official word yet. But I know that the city of Long Beach is trying their hardest to get the ship reopened before the end of the year. They really want the ship open. They have a huge incentive to do so because when the ship is open, she makes money, and money is something the ship really needs right now. So they have a huge carrot dangling in front of them where they are for sure trying to get the ship reopened for before the end of the year. Maritime Review says, do you think they'll ever build a ship with 4 funnels again? Doesn't mean the funnels have to be functional. Ooh. I mean, I don't think so. Because I think, if anything, funnels on ships are going to disappear altogether. There might be various reasons to make funnels on ships disappear. So, as for having 4 of them, I don't think so. Yeah. That's good tea. Yeah. So, all right. This week, I have to try to work on some fun videos for you guys. I've been putting more work into the Johann von Oldenbarnevelt video, although part of me is wondering if people are even going to watch it. I mean, I will take a moment to explain kind of what's been happening with the channel lately. I have been in a rut because I've been producing videos and they're not getting the views they used to get, which is telling me that people aren't really watching the videos. There's something about the videos I'm making that doesn't appeal to people. Problem is, when I ask people why they don't watch the videos, people don't give me an answer. They tell me I do watch the videos. So it seems that whenever I ask these questions, the only people that answer are people who actually watch my channel on a regular basis. So I'm not able to get responses from people that particularly do not choose to watch my videos. Otherwise, I'd ask them straight up. I'd be like, okay, is there something about the video you didn't like or doesn't appeal to you? That way I can change that thing in the future and make stuff that everybody will want to watch. But unfortunately, that's not the way things work. So I have to kind of guess as to why people don't watch my videos. So I want to make a video about the Johann von Oldenbarnevelt. I've got almost all the research done for that. And I'm preparing to make a script, but part of me is thinking, will people even watch the video? Is it worth actually pursuing that when I could pursue something that people will watch? But then the question is, what will people actually watch? I had a video idea about the Queen Mary's collapsing swimming pool and talking about what's really going on there. Will people even watch it? I don't know. Little Gamer says, well, I'm not interested in paranormal stuff. May share some stuff with others. Okay, that's fair. Your previous question was, if you were going somewhere to live, say Alaska and the UK, would you rather take a plane to Alaska or a ferry, or a plane to the UK, or an ocean liner? I would almost always choose to go by sea if I can. I do not like the experience of airplanes or airports. I just don't like it. So I would always try to choose the sea if I can. That's why when I go to the UK, I'm going to be doing a trip on the Queen Mary 2 to get to the UK and a trip from the UK back on the Queen Mary 2. I don't want to take a plane if I can avoid it. See you later, Daniel. Well, I am going to make more ocean liner videos. I just don't want to box myself into only doing ocean liners. Because, I'll be honest, you guys, I don't consider myself an ocean liner fan. Because I'm not really interested in all ocean liners. I only have very few ocean liners that I actually like and I plan to make videos on. There's a lot, but still, in the grand scheme of things, it's only a few. So I don't want to box myself in doing only ocean liners. I've also learned from my mistakes in the past where my channel used to only focus on Disney. And then I was in terrible trouble when people stopped watching Disney content. So I want to keep doing ocean liner content, but I also want to go back and forth with non-ocean liner content. I want the channel to be kind of like a smorgasbord of like all kinds of history content with trains, buildings, ocean liners, that kind of thing. The paranormal stuff was only for Halloween, so it's not like it's going to happen all the time. I just thought like people might like some Halloween-themed history. But the numbers clearly tell me they don't. People vote with their clicks, and they're not clicking. So, let's see. Let's see. Well, the question why it is, what is the algorithm pushing? That's my question. Maritime Review, yeah, I agree. It is sad. There's a lot of people out there who really don't care about history. And so, you know, there was a person that commented on my channel the other day, said something along the lines of like, oh, if I bought a historic home and I wanted to demolish it, then I should be allowed to demolish it. And I'm like, because they told me that they literally don't care about the history of an old building, you know, and I'm like, geez, you know, it's people like that who would literally destroy all the beauty in the world because all they can see, the only thing that they care about is stuff that's happening right now. So it is sad when I see people. I hope people like that don't get old houses because they would just ruin it. But well, Dennis Wilson, the reason why I don't cover other theme parks is because I'm not a theme park person. I don't like theme parks at all. I only like Disneyland because of Walt's history. Little Gamer. Yeah, I've done a poll, Little Gamer, but like I said, the only people that vote on those polls are people who already watch the content anyway. So, like, for instance, I put out a poll, I think it was 2 weeks ago, or maybe more, it's probably way more, but I put out a poll a long time ago that said, are you here to watch only one particular subject or multiple? And basically almost everybody responded with a resounding 90-something%. I think it was 92% of people said, I'm here to watch multiple things, not just one topic. That sounds great, but the problem is I get the feeling that the reason why those numbers are so high and the reason why those numbers contradict what's happening with the channel is because the only people who see and read the polls and respond to the polls are the people who care. I think the people who aren't watching the other content are people who don't care to see the content. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like I'm trying to ask people who don't want to watch stuff to tell me why they don't want to watch stuff. But because they don't want to watch stuff, they don't even read the polls. So they're not responding. All I'm getting is the people who are like the basic fans of the channel who are responding all the time. So the numbers are very skewed. It's not helping at all. Because if 92% of people love watching all the stuff I put out, then why is it that only the ocean liner content gets the views? And even then, only very select ocean liner content gets the views. So, it's interesting. it's like I said, I'm working on another ocean liner video, the Johann von Oldenbarnevelt, which burned in the middle of the ocean. It's a very interesting story, but there's a high likely chance that video might not get all the views. It should. It's an ocean liner. It was a major disaster, and it was a beautiful ship during its time as an ocean liner. But something tells me people aren't going to watch the video. So I don't know. It's becoming very difficult to predict what people want to see, you know? But yeah, I'm not stuck on any ideas. I have multiple ideas. There's no limit to what I want to make. The problem is what do people want to watch on my channel? Planet Mirror. Disney content would be amazing. You're so good at it, Alex. Thank you so much for the compliment. Unfortunately, the Disney content is not getting the views. So, it's not a good direction for me to go. So, let's see. Post stuff on Reddit. Strange. Devin, yeah, I don't, to answer your question, you know, we just have completely different lives now, you know, if the pandemic changed everything. I don't do Disney content anymore, you know, and Maddie doesn't do content at all, you know, so, it's just, you know, two totally different things now, so. Oh, interesting, Russell. Interesting, phrase. Hello, Spyro. Hope your dog is enjoying the walk. Pookie Smoochie. So, to answer your question, generally speaking, ocean liner videos do better. But it's not guaranteed. Sometimes I put out an ocean liner video and it does terribly. So, you know, I did a video about why I love the Queen Mary. That's one of the worst performing videos I've put out. Not the worst performing, they're still worse, but it did not do very well. So just because I put out an ocean liner video doesn't mean people are going to watch it. But generally speaking, they watch more ocean liner content. But the problem, Pookie Smoochie, is that, like I said earlier about the Disney content, I made a mistake a long time ago in focusing only on Disney content. And then one day, people stopped watching Disney content on my channel. And what happened was the views took a dive, the channel almost completely died. And so that was the reason why I had to move away from from Disney content and do ocean liner content, was because no one was watching the videos anymore. So I learned after that I can't pigeonhole my channel into just one topic, or else if something like that happens again, I will face that issue all over again. So I'm trying to build up an audience who are interested in multiple things. So I would love to focus on, like, you know, if everything went my way, I would be making mostly just Queen Mary content, and then here and there I would do like random things about like different buildings and different cities and the history of certain places and stuff like that. that's what I really want to do. I don't really care much about focusing too much on other ocean liners. I really just care about the Queen Mary mostly. But the thing is I can't always do what I want. Like, you know, I've got to change things up. So, and the Queen Mary videos, I am desperate for new footage of the Queen Mary. That's why I really need to get down there and film it. My friend Chris has offered that when the ship reopens, he'll film the ship for me. He'll film the areas I need for me, so I can make those videos for you guys. Which is great, you know, and I'm gonna take him up on his offer. But until the ship reopens, I can't make too much more Queen Mary content. I'm out of images and video footage. I've used it all up on all the other topics. I need more footage of places I don't already have in my list. So, but I've got no shortage of ideas about Queen Mary videos. I'm not even kidding you guys. I've got like 100 ideas for Queen Mary videos for the future. So I'm not in any shortage of it. What I'm in shortage of is footage. So I can't do Queen Mary videos all the time right now. But yeah, I'm trying to just do stuff that, you know, generally people would want to see. Little gamer. Yeah, I mean, look at my thumbnails recently. I've been doing more dramatic thumbnails. So yeah. See you later, Pookie Smoochie. I should get going, too. I think my family and I are going to go out to dinner soon. Yeah, so the problem isn't, like, what content to make necessarily. So I know people are probably going to watch this after the live stream is over, and they're going to have all their ideas. So if you're listening, the problem isn't that I'm out of ideas. The problem is I need to know why people aren't watching the content. Until I know that answer, I won't be able to produce the content they want to see. So, I need more people to be honest, to be totally truthful. Like, I love that Little Gamer came out and said, well, I'm not interested in the paranormal stuff. Perfect. That's a good... I love that, because that's feedback. That's something I know. So if there's a reason why people aren't watching certain videos, I'd love to know why. It will really help in trying to figure out what I should avoid and what I should make. Because if the channel views keep plummeting like they are, I won't even be able to stay on YouTube. I won't be able to make content for you guys anymore. I'll have to go. So, if that's the way it has to be, then that's the way it has to be. But I mean, come on. I love doing what I'm doing. And there's a lot of people who love my videos and they love to see this stuff. So I don't want to stop doing this, you know? Like, I love what I do. So if anybody has, like, you know, if they have specific videos in mind as to why they chose not to watch it, if you've got a specific reason, then it would be very helpful to me to know why, just so I can avoid doing that in the future, or changing, or altering something. I've done more interesting thumbnails. I've come up with more creative video titles. You know, I've stuck to more interesting topics, because there are other random topics I'd love to cover, but I learned that more people click on the more clickbaity topics. So I've done that. You know, and of course I monitor my video analytics all the time to figure out, you know, what kind of stuff people are watching. But it is really random, so it's hard to tell why people watch certain things and why they don't watch other things. You know, yeah. So, and ultimately, if there's content I already produce that you want to see more of, let me know. You know, is it that you're here just to see Queen Mary stuff and you want to see more Queen Mary stuff? I can do that. I have plans to do more. Are you here because, you know, I made a video about New Orleans and you want to see more stuff like that? So yeah, if anybody has personal advice that applies to them as to why they're here, what they want to see, what they don't want to see, yeah, let me know. So, all right. Wyatt Murdoch says, what is the general age range for your channel? Well, YouTube only tracks the ages of people 13 and over. So the general age range for my channel is approximately 17 to 34. No. It's 24 to 44. Sorry about that. It used to be 17 to 34. That was back when I did Disney content. Now the age range on my channel is 24 to 44 years old. So, and to be honest, I like that age range a lot, because that's the age of people who like to watch the stuff I make. So that's actually very good for me. But then there's people under 13 years old, and they make up a huge portion of my viewership, but they're not tracked by YouTube because they're too young. So I don't actually know how many of them are watching my channel, but I get the feeling it's a significant portion because every time school goes back into session, the views drop. So I have a feeling there's a great number of children who watch my content. Which, side note, is why I try not to do too much cussing or put too much inappropriate content on the channel, because I know that a great number of my viewers are kids. So if you ever wonder why you've put a comment with a profane word in it and I've removed the comment, that's why. But anyway, let me read some. No, I don't want to do gaming on the channel. So many videos in so little time. Yeah, I understand, Tyler. I feel the same way. I hardly get too much time to watch videos from YouTube creators that I like to watch. I'm always so busy doing stuff. Yeah. Yeah, more Queen Mary content will be on the way in the future. I really need that footage. I'm just really hoping the ship opens soon so I can get more footage of the ship, more places that people don't normally film, so that way I can make videos out of it. But we'll see. Anywho, folks, it's been 2 hours. I'm gonna get going. I think there will be Chapter 5 of the audiobook I'm recording will be available on Tuesday. Yeah, on Tuesday. Tea time is on Wednesday at 4 p.m. And then Friday, I should have some kind of big topic video for you guys. I was taking it easy earlier this week because, you know, I've been hanging out with my father a lot. You know, he just recently moved up here. But yeah, just leave me feedback in the comments, you guys, about what you want to see, what you don't want to see. Yeah, the model railroad content's pretty good. I still have plans to do more of that when I have time. Alright, folks, well, I'm going to get going now, so thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.